Let's talk about Epic because, guys, they just recently had their State of Unreal. And we covered this the other day when Tim Sweeney Boy essentially thought that he was like Jesus for the gaming industry, where he was talking some wild stuff. He essentially wants to make Epic Games and Unreal Engine the one-stop shop for the entire AAA gaming industry. That's what he wants. He wants to be the one-stop shop. I don't see how that's going to happen, but I'm just telling you that that's what he wants. And it's kind of crazy because he wants to be the one-stop shop. He wants to talk about community. He wants to talk about all this nonsense. But meanwhile, you're doing shit that no PC gamer actually wants. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you guys want to see more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join me every single day, 9 p.m. over on the main channel, where you can catch me live every single day, 9 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see every single one of you there. Now back to the main video. Right, PC gamers don't want exclusivity wars on PC. They don't want to deal with that nonsense. Right, leave that for the consoles, right? Leave that for PlayStation and Xbox. They don't want to deal with that nonsense. But unfortunately, Epic Games wants to continue down that road, and they apparently want to make it even worse. They want to make it even worse. So, with all that being said, there was another part of the interview that we didn't get to cover yesterday that I want to cover today, and that has to do with their plans to improve their storefront. Now, we've made fun of Epic Games, okay? But I want people to understand that I make fun of Epic Games storefront because I wanted them to do better. I really wanted Epic Games to be a competition to Steam. It doesn't mean that I would necessarily use the Epic Game Store, at least not at the beginning, but I want competition for the platform of my choice because I don't want them to get comfortable and lazy. Does that make sense? So, of course, I would love competition for Steam, real competition, which is why I appreciate what GOG is trying to do, even though I don't use GOG personally. But anyway, Epic Games has a big plan from improving its PC storefront 8 years later. And what is those big plans? Well, they're just going to copy Steam. Now, the funny thing about this, and the reason why I think this is newsworthy, is because if you guys remember, about a year to a year and a half ago, Sweeney Boy had an interview where he said that he doesn't see the value in adding these features that people want on Epic Game Store that are currently available on Steam. He doesn't see the value. He doesn't want to add it. He thinks it's pointless, and he thinks that Steam is not going to be around in 10 years anyway. I'm not kidding. This is literally what he said years ago. Well, now, apparently, I guess he must see the value. Either that, or he must have got wrecked so bad by Gabe over the last couple of years that he's going to just basically copy Steam. So let's see how much he's actually going to be copying Steam. So this happened on June 18th as part of Epic's Unreal Fest in Chicago. The company behind Fortnite laid out its future plans for its now 7-year-old storefront and promised a big redesign as well as a list of useful features that are still shockingly not included. Keep in mind, guys, you want to know how bad it is? It's so bad that Epic Games only recently, what was it, like 6 months ago? Epic Games only recently, after almost 8 years of being available, finally gave you the option to gift video games. I'm not kidding. In today's modern fucking world, 8 years later, almost 8 years later, they finally gave you the option to gift video games. Now, all of a sudden, after being that slow with your options, now all of a sudden you're just going to have an overhaul and copy Steam. This thing is going to be a fucking mess. It's going to be a mess, at least in the beginning anyway. But anyway, it's not included in Epic Game Store, as documented by Reddit user Athlon. Photos from the talk about 12 months of the Epic Game Store are listed, and some of the features as up first. So here's what we have. Third-party patch notes. So you're going to be able to read third-party patch notes. Wow, I know, crazy. You can't even read third-party patch notes on Epic Game Store. Epic Parties, which are going to be basically party chat. Library management and storefront improvements. Cross-region gifting. They don't even have that yet. Fortnite chunked installation. Pre-registration for free-to-play games. Storefront re-architecture. So this is a lot of vague nonsense. it doesn't really mean anything. But anyway, further down the line, Epic is promising written user reviews. Oh, finally. Finally, we're going to have written user reviews. Wow. I'll believe it when I see it. Player profiles. Yes, that is still not a thing. You don't have a profile on Epic Game Store. Discovery improvements, publisher coupons, search improvements, and a public release of a redesigned version 2 of the Epic Games launcher and store. Beyond that, Epic says that it's working on third-party communities, which are basically forums, new API tools, universal controller support, and better notifications and social discovery. This all sounds good, but it all sounds like features directly inspired by Steam. That's because it is. It is. It is directly inspired by Steam. It's inspired by the same company that they literally said they don't want to do any of this. You think this is the first time people have been asking for any of this shit on the Epic Game Store? Of course not. People have been asking for this stuff for years, and Sweetie Boy said no. No, I don't want to do it. He flat out said there's no point in doing it. So now, all of a sudden, after you realize that, wow, you guys are really losing bad. You guys, again, I'll remind you just how bad they're losing. Epic Game Store, okay? Epic Game Store as a whole, for the entire year, in third-party sales only, so this is excluding Fortnite, and this is excluding Rocket League, okay? Third-party video games only, they did about $335 million in a year. 12 months, $335 million. Steam, last I checked, their year recently, I believe they reached about $18 billion. 18 billion with a B. So it takes an entire year for them to get essentially 1/3 of the way to $1 billion on Epic Game Store. Meanwhile, Steam is at 18 or almost $18 billion in 1 year. It's crazy. It's disgusting. But, I mean, that's just the reality of it, right? Even if you take Fortnite and Rocket League and you add to those numbers, it's still not anywhere close. Right? So Epic Games can't even win, even when you include their first-party video games that they're purposely being exclusive with on Epic Game Store. And you just know that Sweeney Boy understands that if he were to put Fortnite and Rocket League on Steam, that more people will play on Steam than they will play on Epic Game Store. You already know that's true. They would actually abandon the Epic Game Store to go play it on Steam, most likely. Most people would. So I find all that to be pretty damn funny. But anyway, let's talk about it. So, and again, it all sounds good and dandy, but they're basically copying Steam. Now, if I were in charge of a digital PC gaming store that wasn't Steam, I too would look at what Valve has done and copy their homework. It just seems odd to me that it's taken Epic nearly a decade now to implement features that Valve has had for many, many years. I'm also not excited to see how Epic integrates AI into the store or how it's used in coding. In 2021, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney claimed the store had lost over $300 million. That's lost, by the way, $300 million. But that was all somehow part of a fantastic plan to build the store up and grow its business. 5 years later, it seems like Epic still has a long way to go to compete with Valve. Do you know why the store lost money? The store lost money. What's up, Demajani? What's up, Once? The store lost money because even though it made $330 some odd million in a year, these guys spend, and I'm not kidding, over $700 million a year just on giving away free video games. That's how much money they spend a year on this shit. That's the last number that I heard. Over $700 million on free video games. So they're essentially paying $700 million to try to bait people into using their platform when all people do is go to their platform, take the game, and run. That's all they do. And the saddest thing about all this is that I know of some people, and they make themselves known online. I know of some people that utilize Epic Game Store as essentially a free Game Pass, where they will rent out video games on Epic Game Store, and if they actually like the game, they'll go buy it on Steam, which is even worse. That's even more insulting. Isomatic says that's all I do. Exactly. Like, bro, you can, if you, I'll tell you this. Let's say you don't have a ton of money, which is fine if you don't have a ton of money and you want a game on the cheap, but you happen to have like a PC to game on or whatever. If you go to Epic Game Store, you'll get plenty of games to be able to play, and you won't have to spend a single dime. You'll have games you can play all year long, and you won't have to spend a single dime on it. That's how many video games they give away for free, and some of them are not like, like basically garbage video games. Some of them are actually pretty decent games, but people use them as a free Game Pass. People use them as a trial to try out essentially video games they want to buy on Steam. It's fucking crazy, bro. It's crazy. Because on Steam, you actually have the achievements and whatnot. You know what I mean? So it's all pretty damn hilarious. But anyway, the reason why I wanted to talk about this again is because, like I said, yesterday we covered how Sweetie Boy thinks in his mind that Epic Game Store is going to be the savior of AAA gaming. That he wants to get all the developers under one umbrella. He wants to get everybody using Unreal Engine, which unfortunately a lot of people already are. He wants to get every developer utilizing Unreal Engine, and he wants to get them all under the same umbrella to basically make Unreal Engine into the powerhouse that's going to control the industry. He wants to be the guy. And right now, he always views Gabe as the guy for whatever that reason may be, but that's what he wants. So that's why I continue to say that even if Unreal Engine ends up being a decent engine for some developers, because I know there's been some game developers in my chat they have actually said that Unreal Engine's pretty decent, but you just have to know how to use it. I know I've had some people defend Unreal Engine, and that's fine. You could do that. But my thing is, I just worry that everybody's going to start using the same engine, which is why I always push for proprietary engines. If I can see a studio put in the time and the effort to have a proprietary engine, I would be more interested in that. Hence why Crimson Desert could be at the scale that it is and run the way that it does. Because those developers have made their own proprietary engine, and they've been used to it for a while. Crimson Desert's probably the best example. Can you imagine if they used Unreal Engine for Crimson Desert, and they didn't know how to utilize Unreal Engine the way that they do their own engine? It would have ran like absolute fucking shit. It would have ran like garbage. So I always advocate for them getting their own proprietary engine, but I understand. In order to do that, it takes time and it takes money. I get that. I'm not ignorant to that. I get that. I wish it was a lot simpler for them to do it. That's all I'm saying. Because that way, at least if something goes wrong, they know firsthand how to deal with it because they designed it. They essentially made their own engine. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all I mean with that. But in any case, I also think, me personally, and I've said this many times, I think the CryEngine is a really good engine. The kind of video games that I've seen with the CryEngine and the scale of these video games, the graphical capability and how good they all run on the CryEngine, I feel like it's a heavily underutilized engine. I really do. I think the CryEngine should be utilized more than it is. I don't know what the reason is why we don't use it as often, but the CryEngine does insane fucking work. It really does. I mean, the most recent one would be Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Most people think KCD 2 was made on Unreal Engine, but it wasn't. It was made on the CryEngine. So just think about that. Think about how good that game looks. I think that like the CryEngine, yeah, exactly, Tiger King, Decima engine, the RE engine, all of these engines are really, really good engines. And you know what's funny about it? What's funny is that the CryEngine, the Decima engine, and the RE engine, every single one of those engines, when you see a video game made by them, you already know that it was that engine. Because they have this look to it, they have this style to it that is very native to those particular engines, right? The Decima engine is hyper-realism. The RE engine has that Capcom kind of style to it, right? Where the NPCs are like these big, larger-than-life NPCs usually, and the hair is very Capcom, the way it's designed. Right? The CryEngine also does hyper-realism, but it has this style to it that I don't know how to explain. It's for me anyway. I feel like I can differentiate between Decima and CryEngine, But in any case, I do not like the over-reliance on Unreal Engine. Yeah, Fox Engine was peak too. Fox Engine was good too. Yeah, I know. Valve has the Source Engine also. Which, again, just keep in mind, though, what is Valve? I know they do source it, no pun intended, but Valve's not really making games like that, right? So it's whatever for me. But Yeah, I think the over reliance on Unreal Engine is a bad thing, and I think we need to get away from that as a industry. But it is worrisome when you have somebody like Sweeney, who is a multi-billionaire behind Epic Games, a multi-billion-dollar company with all the influence in the world, talking to these developers, you know, basically whispering sweet nothings in their ear and giving them basically no reason not to use Unreal Engine. They essentially whore out the engine. I think they give it away for free or damn near free. It's very accessible. So hopefully they get away from that, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Considering they're coming out with 6 already, they're coming out with 6 for a reason. And it's because they want to utilize 6 to really drive it home that they want to be the main engine of the industry. But again, anyway, that's just my personal opinion. I hope they get away from that though. Source kind of sucks. I don't think Source sucks at all. Source Engine's pretty good. The Source Engine's pretty good, man. I've seen some people make some banger video games with the Source Engine. And the physics in the Source Engine is really good. Really, really good.